This episode of the Citadel Cafe is brought to you by listeners like you. Visit patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe to find out how you can become a patron and help make this show possible. This is the Citadel Cafe, episode number 411 for Wednesday, August 4th, 2021. My name is Joel Duggan, and the Citadel Cafe is where my friends and I hang out to talk about the geeky stuff that we are into. Joining me this week, Stephen ESC is back, and that's Stephen ESC with a PH, in case you're wondering, on all the social media that matters. Hello, sir.
Hey, Joel, how's it going?
It is August. What happened?
I know. I feel like it was just like a heavy blink. And July just flew by.
Yeah, you're right. Heavy blink. That thing that you do when you wake up in the morning at like 6:45 and you blink and it's 8:15. You're like, what just happened?
Yep. Exactly.
What just happened?
That was July.
Yeah, I hear you. I am disappointed in myself and have to confess that I have not been for a hike yet this summer. I just haven't had the time. I work weekends. Like I stream on weekends and I just haven't had the opportunity to go and take a day off during the week. I will count my blessings, working from home and being self-employed. Like if you're that busy, that's a good thing usually. But yeah, I'm really kind of kicking myself because it should have been the first thing I started doing, especially with, restrictions being a little bit easier and being able to leave the county and move around the province a little bit more at the end of June. I really should have taken more time in July. But speaking of the shift in the month, it is the first of the month, which means that I want to give a shout out to all of the patrons that support the Citadel Cafe. We get paid on the first of the month, and it's because of you that we can keep on doing the show. So we're fully listener supported. It's a huge reason that the show has been going on for nearly 10 years now. So a huge thank you to everybody that supports the show. I really appreciate it. If you want to become a member, if you want to get the extra content, then check out patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe. There's a number of different tiers, and those include some extra bonus audio. Last week, Alistair and I ended up talking for an extra half an hour, I think, about Minecraft and his arcade setup at home.
Nice.
Which is really cool. So that was a fun conversation to have. Yeah. I don't have a lot going on. What's new with you, man?
I recently got a new car, so it's it's a pretty big deal because we've our car before that was a 2008 Mazda 5 that we bought in 2010. So it's
wow.
Yeah, I know it's it was a well-loved vehicle, and my brother, who's a mechanic, sort of kept that thing alive for quite a while. Like, yeah, we're grateful. So it saved us a lot of dollars keeping that thing running. But during this year's safety inspection, he found a hole rusting in the frame and said, "Yeah, it's time, bro. We have to time to put it down." So yeah, it's too bad though, because we really liked the size of the Mazda 5. It really fit sort of our family and our lifestyle well. We live in an old part of the city. I guess for people who know Halifax, it's further down towards the mouth of the harbor. And it was actually, the deed says the same year as the Halifax explosions on it. So I don't know whether that's actually, like, if it was built, or like if it was registered to be built just after the explosion, or if it was built that year and then survived it. I'm not sure, but it's from the period of time when all of the driveways were really narrow because people really didn't have vehicles, or it wasn't that common of a thing. So the Mazda 5 fit in there really well. In the new vehicle, we were looking for something that had similar dimensions. My wife's not a huge human. She likes to say she has inner hugeness. So she likes to have a vehicle that sort of gets her up higher on the road than your average car. So in the Mazda 5 was almost like a minivan. So it did get her up higher, and it was so higher than your average car. We liked the fact that all of the seats folded down. It made trips to IKEA a lot easier. It had sliding doors in the back, which is what made it more like a minivan, and that was amazing for a young family. So we were able to get into the narrow parking space, or the narrow driveway, and not have to worry about our kids digging the door off our house and the neighbor's house. So that was amazing. We probably would have gotten another one if we could have gotten one in an all-wheel drive. So our house is on a bit of a hill as well, and in the wintertime, it's actually impossible for us to get up sometimes, or it was impossible for us to get up sometimes with that car. So there's thankfully a long way around we could use, but it was such a pain. So yeah, unfortunately we had to start looking, and then we would have loved to have had an SUV, but that was a little out of our price range, and we checked the usual brands that we were used to, like, the Hondas, Toyota, Mazda, Chev, all of those that we're used to. And then I can't even, I was trying to remember for this podcast why Subaru popped in my head, but I was just, maybe like one of my managers has a Subaru, and I thought, oh, I respect his opinion on stuff, so maybe I'll check it out. And lo and behold, we found one that's considered a subcompact, and like dimension wise, it's almost identical. Like width wise, I think it's off by 2 centimeters. Length wise, it's off by, I'm not even sure if it's 5 centimeters. And it's meant to be an off-road vehicle to a degree, so it's higher up off the ground. So it sort of satisfied, getting my wife up higher above the road, just for comfort of driving. And then it was an all-wheel drive. So like fit our price range, all-wheel drive, fit the driveway, like all the boxes checked, man. It was crazy.
Nice.
And yeah, even on Consumer Reports, it had the top of its class for Consumer Reports, like above the Toyota, Honda, Chev, Mazda equivalents, and it had like as good as you can get in terms of safety score right across the board. So so we are now the proud owners, or I guess technically proud leasers, of a red Subaru Crosstrek, and it is awesome. I love it. I am totally smitten with that vehicle.
It's a slick looking car. I'm looking at a picture of them right now. And the red one is a nice, like the dark grille on the front, like the black grille. Very, very cool.
And it's one of those things that on the website, you can tell that they've got the same, like probably 3D model rendered over and over again for all of the colors. And it just has the color applied to it. So we weren't really sure, because we had the printed brochure as well. We went in to do a test drive. And then, so we had the printed brochure, and looking at the pictures on the website, we couldn't really tell, what shade of red it was going to be. Right. So it's brighter than I thought it was going to be, but it's nice. It looks really good. And so there's 2 colors actually we had it down to. One's called, what is it? Cool khaki gray, which is like almost like a slightly dull baby blue. It looked really cool in the car.
Yep.
And then this red one, and basically we thought, all right. They told us it's going to be 6 to 8 weeks potentially to get it in, because there's the semiconductor shortage across the world, thanks COVID. And so we thought, we have it narrowed down to these 2. And then we went in for a second test drive, and they said, it actually looks like we've got a red one on the lot with no one's names attached to it. And I think I literally said, attach my name to it, please. Like, put our name on that car. We would like to have that. So
yeah, nice.
Yeah, we signed the paperwork, and yeah, we've had it 3 weeks today.
That's great, man.
Yeah, very happy with it.
Don't you just love it when big decisions like that come together so serendipitously? Like, just, you weren't out looking for a Subaru, but that's just kind of where you ended up, and it ends up being like the perfect thing, the perfect replacement for your old Mazda.
And just the way the things lined up as well. We knew that Mazda 5 was going to die at some point. We were just, forever grateful. Thank you, brother, for keeping that thing as alive as long as he did. But then just to have it die, find the Subaru. Yeah, I mean, I could go on and on, but just like even the financial things, I don't want to get into the details about it. But it was just like finances fell into place. Then they had the red one on the lot, and then we were driving it away. It was crazy.
Did you say what year it was? Is it a brand new one?
Yeah, 2021.
Nice.
Yeah, so we went from a 2008 to a 2021.
Wow, yeah, I bet you that's got some bells and whistles on it. You're like, what does this even do?
Yeah, exactly. A screen for backing up? Shut up.
Oh, man. My dad's Kia is a higher vehicle, so I understand. Even as a tall person, I just like being up higher. You can see so much better when you're driving. And it's not like an SUV or anything like that, but it's more of like a bench seating. It's not like you sit down in it like a car, And I mean, you and I, you're a little bit shorter than me, but you're not a short person. So
yeah, I'm kind of like Captain Average in terms of, well, like, I go and It's great because they make a lot of things for my size, but that it's also a drag because if I want to go buy shoes, guess which size is sold out first?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I know you're the opposite scale of that, where the shoes that you want, you usually have to
Oh, special order. Yeah.
custom order. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's an online thing, which is not my favorite way to buy footwear.
Yeah.
The hardest thing for me with being tall and having big feet is like dress shoes. There's enough big athletes out there that I can find sneakers, no problem. Whether it's
Right.
cross trainers, running shoes, doesn't really matter. But it comes to like when I want like a pair of leather dress shoes or something like that, then I have some real things. And actually, hiking boots are the other thing. Hiking boots, they, for whatever reason, they don't think any hiker has got wide, flat feet. They just don't think that's a thing. So finding hiking boots are, well, I shouldn't say it is a problem. It was a problem because when I was looking, those that I could find that would potentially be in my side were well outside of my price range. But
Right.
now I feel like I could probably invest in something a little bit better, and probably a good time to do it, going into fall, because I don't necessarily want big hiking boots on when I'm hiking in the summer. I want something that is going to be a little bit better for fall. So we'll see. But yeah, it's a pain in the butt when you're tall and have just wide shoulders and big feet, and it can be kind of tricky to pick stuff up. Speaking of new stuff, it is not as cool as a new car, but I am finally looking to replace my living room couch, which is where I sit when I play Forza Horizon 4. So not that different from buying a new car, I guess.
No, actually, we bought one not too long ago, and I'm not trying to take over the conversation on couches. I just wanted to say it was actually kind of exciting.
Yeah, yeah.
The idea of getting a new couch, it's a big deal. It's going to be a fixture for a while.
I have had this so long I don't remember how old it is. Like it's and it needs to go. It's got to the point where it is no longer comfortable, and it is not a very breathable material. And so I find myself sitting on it and just being like hot and not wanting to be there. Like I'll sit on the floor and lean up against it a lot before I will actually sit on it. And that's a little bit problematic because that puts me like a foot and a half closer to the TV, which is a lot bigger than it used to be. And so now I'm like, dude, the floor is too close. Like I need to sit up on the couch. So I'm looking actually at picking something up from IKEA. For those that are IKEA nerds out there, I'm looking at the Kivik as my number one and the Morabo as my number two. I have a limited spec though, because my gosh, every couch that IKEA makes is freaking ginormous. Like these, I thought, I was like, I wonder if I can find a couch big enough. Oh yeah, no, I have two options because those are the only ones that are small enough to fit in the area that I have it. And the way that my living room is laid out, I have a patio door that swings inward, so I can't have the couch any closer to that. Otherwise, it will impede that door.
Right.
And then I have to walk. The thoroughfare through my living room is on the other side. So I've got about 90 inches, give or take a squeeze. So if it's something like 92, I can maybe swing it. So I don't know. I'm going to have to do some measuring, maybe put some tape on the floor or something like that once I figure things out. The other thing that I find really troubling with trying to buy new couches is that so many of them are like these really deep couches where like you sit on them and you're like lying down when your feet are on the floor. I just don't like the seat depth in a lot of them. So I don't know how I'm going to get around that. I might have to get some big throw pillows or something, because nothing anywhere is like less than something like 24 or 25 inches. And as tall as I am, I actually don't have very long legs. So I would prefer more of an upright couch, but I also want to have something that I might be able to put something like remote controllers and stuff like that on the arms. So I like flat arms, not poofy arms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So these two couches are kind of cool. And I was surprised, actually. I thought that, the last time I did anything in the living room, picking something up, it was quite an expense. And these are quite affordable. I was surprised. So I'm looking forward to popping over and maybe even seeing them in person now that that's something that's possible. So yeah, it's weird how you get excited about that kind of stuff when you're an adult. But it is facing my TV and my Xbox and stuff. And so I'm investing a little bit more in the home, weirdly thinking ahead to fall and winter in Canada. And, last year I invested in the TV and the Xbox Series X, which I've got some more to talk about later. But this year I think it's probably going to be the couch. But it's something that I do tend to fuss over, if that's weird to say. Like it's just something you really want to make sure you get it right, because on one hand, yes, it's an expensive purchase, but like it's also a huge piece of furniture that is going to be a pain in the ass to return if something is not right with it, or if you don't like it, or whatever. Like it's a huge problem.
Yeah, especially since being IKEA, there's probably going to be a component of it or components of it you have to put together. So returning it might involve taking things apart and putting it back in the box, and that may not be the easiest thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So I've thought about all that, and thankfully there's an IKEA here locally that I can actually go and potentially see one either put together or, see at least what it looks like, if not be able to sit on it. I'm not sure what the regulations are for that kind of thing with COVID, but I will at least be able to go have eyes on and maybe even see if it's comfortable.
The Upland doesn't have flat armrests. They're pretty much like round, almost circular round, but that's what we have, and it's pretty comfortable. So it's might be worth checking out.
Well, moving on into the main discussion this week, I actually have a couple of video games to talk about, and
cool.
I don't have a lot to say. One was mediocre, we'll say, and the other one I only just started, but it feels promising. So I played Injustice 2, which is an old game. It's not brand new. It was 2017. Not as old as your car, but like still by video game standards, it's a few years old. And it is basically like a Mortal Kombat clone, but it involves all of the DC superheroes. So you've got Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and it's the second installment. I play them because it's usually an interesting take on the characters. There's a very loose story that sometimes is good, sometimes is not good. This had good moments, but the overarching drive, which was Superman's a bad guy, is not my favorite kind of exploration within DC. In Injustice 1, just to kind of give everybody context, Joker somehow is able to get inside Superman's head. He either has him mind controlled or something. And he twists Superman and makes him kill Lois Lane. Superman snaps, kills the Joker, and then starts what they refer to in Injustice 2 as the regime, and is basically like a super, dictator. And, if you're a criminal, then there's a trial, but you could be still put to death depending on what you've done. Or if you're already a convicted murderer, he was just, sick and tired of Arkham people just escaping and killing more people. So he's just like, you're done. And he just fries them. So not my favorite Superman. However, George Newbern voices Superman. Kevin Conroy voices Batman. It's not Mark Hamill as the Joker, but it's still a pretty decent Joker. Joker's in flashbacks in this. And the rest of the cast is all pretty good. Alan Tudyk from Firefly and a bunch of other stuff plays Green Arrow. I don't know the whole list of IMDb people, but it's a lot. Like it's a fair amount, and the dialogue is not great in terms of the writing, but the voice acting is spectacular. Harley Quinn is amazing. Like all the things that you would expect from the DC kind of canon. Vanessa Marshall's Black Canary, Phil Lamar does Aquaman. So there's a lot of voice acting talent that's in the game, and that makes it worth it. And for a fighting game, it's actually pretty good. They do a really good job balancing the fact that you're using Superman, who in theory should be able to kick everybody's butt.
Yeah,
but the story as it serves, he's been under a red sun lamp, right, for years, or for at least for however long he's been incarcerated. Because in Injustice 1, you win and Batman throws Superman in jail. And so he's been weakened for years. So like he has to get back up to full charge. And that's why he can still fly around, but he's not like destroying everybody. So, and when he fights Batman, Batman puts on a, kryptonite suit and stuff. So like it kind of evens the odds a bit. It has some good story beats, some fun moments. Black Canary and Green Arrow are married in this particular storyline, as they are in several storylines in the Green Arrow universe. And their banter back and forth is really cool. They're fighting these bad guys, and you're jumping in as either Black Canary or Green Arrow, and you have to fight Grodd or you have to fight Bane. And it's kind of cool. They give you a choice, like, okay, so Black Canary and Green Arrow just ran into Bane, and it's like, which one of them is going to fight him? And so you say, like, I'm going to fight you choose who you're going to fight with, and then they'll turn to one another and say, "I've got this clown. You go take care of whoever just ran away or something." And so it kind of gives a nice little kind of choose your own adventure thing. But at
That's
one
cool.
point, I chose Black Canary, and she's like, "I'm going to teach this overgrown monkey who's boss, right?" But she's talking about Bane, not Grodd. That's the kind of the joke. And Green Arrow says something along like, "Yeah, I should go call the sitter anyway." So like their kid is home. They had to call a babysitter to go crime fight. It's like just stuff like
That's
that
funny.
it's kind of fun. It's got some heart to it. The thing that I found took me out of it was the cutscenes. The cutscenes I don't think are 60 frames a second, or however they're rendered. They just were playing really, really choppy. And it's a combination of that frame rate being choppy and the abuse of shaking the camera for dramatic effect.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you don't need to do it in a cinematic. Like, I understand if a fighting game, if I punch somebody into the ground and there's a big smash effect, like, sure, shake the camera, that's fine. Vibrate my controller too. Like, that's all part of the experience.
Yeah.
But when I'm watching a cinematic and like a ship is flying overhead, or I'm tumbling through the streets of Central City, and Flash and I can't remember his name, Ichabod Thawne or somebody is fighting one another at like super speed. Stop shaking the bloody camera so I can see what's going on, because I want to see this cool superhero fight. And that combined with the fact that I felt like it was skipping frames was infuriating. And you can see the same thing happen whenever you do what's called like a super move or the ultimate move, which is really easy to do. I thought it was going to be some complicated combination of buttons that you'd have to hit just at the right time. But really, it's about the skills that you get, or the points that you get, filling a meter by receiving damage, blocking damage, causing damage, like whatever combinations that you do. And the cooler the combination, the faster you fill this meter. And then when that meter is full, you can then execute whatever a super move is. And every character's got a different one. And it's usually something to do with their superhero character. So like Batman, when he executes his super move, attaches a weather balloon to your ankle, lets it go, you fly up into the air, and he just kind of touches his wrist and says, "Now." And the Batwing comes and grabs the cable that your ankle is attached to, flies up to the moon, stops for a minute, as you imagine it does, and then drops back down. And then you're free falling back down to Earth. And all the while, the Batwing is basically like blasting you with machine guns the whole way down. And so, Jeez. Yeah, like it's pretty intense. And they all do the same sort of thing. Like Superman punches you into the sky and like sends you miles and just flies and punches you. It's actually, despite the fact that I don't like Superman as a character in the game, his super move it's basically from the trailer of Man of Steel. Like it's basically when he's punching Zod through Metropolis. Like it's really well done. So there's moments like that kind of allow you to forgive some of the shortcomings. It's also a good game. It's an accessible game. You can easy to pick up, hard to master. Like there's a lot of stuff that I tried to do that I couldn't figure out in terms of the moves. But then there was other ones that were just like, tap towards and away and hit the button. Like it's really not that complicated.
Oh yeah.
And then you would execute something ridiculously cool. Like the Flash's move for that particular combo, I believe, was that he would speed away in the opposite direction of the opponent and then come in from the other side of the screen as if he just ran around 10 city blocks and then punches the person from behind, right? And then zips back to the other side again. So like it allows you to feel like you're being super, but because it's a balanced fighting game, you're all still doing the same amount of damage when you're punching with like certain buttons. Like a jab is still a low punch. A big punch or a big kick does X amount of damage, and then the more powerful move does more damage. And each character's the buttons do all do the same sort of thing, but how it's executed on screen is really interesting, because Superman will pick you up and throw you down, which feels powerful, but it's still not doing any more damage than, say, Green Arrow roundhouse kicking you in the head. It's all because it's all balanced fighting. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was part of or is part of currently Xbox Game Pass. So the monthly subscription that I pay for, because I picked up the sub on Amazon gift cards around Christmas time. I just thought, you know what? I'll just keep that going. I'm having some fun with these things. And so it was good. I would, if you've got access to it, I would pick it up. I wouldn't pay a lot of money for it if you have to purchase it, but it's the kind of game you'll see on sale for like 10 or $20. Well, probably 20 on things like Steam sales and things like that. I know that you guys play a lot of Mario Kart. Do you do any like fighting games? Like what's the Super Smash Brothers? Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't played it recently, or I haven't played it with the boys recently. They've got Switches now. We used to play it on the Wii U, but now they've got Switches, so they do play with their friends online some. But I actually haven't played with them in a while. It's funny because I used to play with them, and being somebody who used to play Nintendo games when I was younger, I would have to let them win or just kind of slow things down for a bit. And then I get to the point where like, okay, yeah, we're all playing pretty evenly here. This is a good challenge. And now I like usually get in the fighting games anyways, sort of get my backside handed to me. I can still hold my own in Mario Kart. The whole family's gotten to the point now where we're basically occupying the top 4 spots in all races, and a lot of them are pretty close. And my wife's gotten quite good at it as well. And I'm only saying that because the boys and I played a lot. And my wife used to play every once in a while for fun, as a family thing to do. But then one of my sons basically figured out a way to say, okay, no, this is how you skid. And then it's like it just clicked. My wife's like, oh, okay. And so she's like right behind us as well. But sorry, I realize I'm taking it away from the fighting game. But yeah, I know it's Smash Bros. I haven't played it in a while because they like the new shiny version that I don't have access to.
It's been a long time. I really wanted to get into a Street Fighter because I was talking with Alistair about his Street Fighter arcade 1-up machine that he has. And
right.
I was like, man, I would love to play some Street Fighter. And I do have access. I could buy like a bundle of old Street Fighter, like the Street Fighter that you and I would have played growing up on like the Super Nintendo, right? And I thought like, wow, if I'm going to buy it, I'd rather buy a new one. Like I'd rather buy Street Fighter 5, whatever the most recent one is. But it's not available on Xbox. It's only on PlayStation and PC, I think. So that's unfortunate because that's the game that I would have really liked to have tried. But like I said, Injustice 2 is a decent, accessible one. And for anybody that doesn't like fighting games, but it's curious about it, Injustice 1 and Injustice 2, you can watch YouTube playthroughs where people just kind of like show like 10 to 15 seconds of the actual fight, but then they'll play the cutscene. So you can still watch the story unfold without having to actually play the game. Because there was a couple of characters like Brainiac took me forever to beat. I found Bane was pretty good. Grodd was pretty good. There was a couple of characters that I had a really hard time. They smoked me the first time. Aquaman. Aquaman was tough. He's got a lot of range with the trident. Like it was really hard to get up close to him. And Black Adam was also really tough because their super moves are like, lightning from above. Like you can't even see it coming. So that kind of stuff was kind of hard to avoid. But yeah, like if you want to check it out, then you can just watch a playthrough on YouTube. Just double check to make sure that they're not showing you the entire match where it's them fighting. Often what you'll see is like the beginning, because the beginning, the remarks back and forth are kind of funny, like Batman versus whoever. There's going to be some like verbal jabs that come through, like "Hi, Kitty, nice to see you," or something like that. If it's like Harley Quinn and Catwoman, Harley Quinn says something snide about cats or kitty litter or something, and then at the end, if you like, when the character wins, they also give like an insult, like, back to the kennel with you, or like stuff like that. So that's fun to check out. The other game that I've just started playing is something I've been meaning to pick up forever. And I don't know why I just haven't started it. And I just really kind of forced myself to get into it because it does take a little bit of setup. It's an RPG. It's called Outer World. It's been out for a couple of years. And the way that I can set it up, I'll just kind of like read right from their website. Lost in transit while on a colonist ship bound for the furthest edge of the galaxy, you awake decades later than you expected, only to find yourself in the midst of a deep conspiracy threatening to destroy the Halcyon colony, which is the colony where you're going. As you explore the furthest reaches of space and encounter a host of factions all vying for power, who you decide to become will determine the fate of everyone in Halcyon. In the corporate equation for the colony, you are the unplanned variable. And it's a lot of fun so far. It has the sense of humor of Borderlands. It's not as vulgar or as chaotic, but it's really tongue-in-cheek. Like, there's all these corporations. They are essentially countries. They are ruling bodies in outer space. And whenever you run into someone, they are employed by one of these companies. And they talk like it's a cult. And the whole thing is like a space western. So I think like Firefly meets like cyberpunk giant corporation takeover type stuff. Lots of really cool senses of humor. The dialogue is really fun. And one of the reasons why it took a while to get into the game is because you have to kind of go through the setup screen of picking like character traits and character stuff. And some of that is like intelligence, and intelligence will like influence how good you are with a sniper rifle, but also how good you are at influencing people. And as you talk to different characters within the world, again, I've only talked to like maybe 3, maybe 4. You have different dialogue options. So similar to a game like Mass Effect, where you can say to someone that like the end result is that you have to go and kill some marauders, but you can say, you're a weakling, like you're really not doing your job. I'm going to go do it for you. Or you can say, is there any coin if you want some help? Like you can offer to help, or you can basically make fun of them. So you can be mean, you can be neutral, or you can kind of influence them to get what you want. And depending on where you put all your points, you might be able to influence certain people or not be able to influence certain people, from what I can understand. And so there was quite a lot of setup, a lot of kind of like character design stuff, your hair, your beard, and all that kind of stuff. And I like having fun with that kind of thing.
That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, you don't ever really see your character. You're your first person shooter. So it's like a story shooter would be my best way to describe it. So I'm not expecting anything fantastic from the gameplay. It's more about just kind of like getting from one point to another. There is a really cool mechanic, and I don't remember the name of it. It's called like TTS for an abbreviation, but essentially you were in hypersleep for 70 years. And as a result, you're sick. And this doctor is trying to save you and because he's trying to save you, he makes you think that you're indebted to him, and then he's trying to get you to do his political agenda. And so all in the disguise of like he's trying to heal you, which, I mean, you've got nothing else to do, so you might as well listen to him. But what it does, this TTS, is it's a syndrome where it has to do with time. And so you perceive time differently. So you can actually hit a button and slow down time, which gives you more time to aim and like maybe shoot the kneecap of a character that's a weak point, if that's the kind of animal that has a weak point or something like that. And so you can experiment with different bad guys to find out where they take the most damage by hitting this slow-mo button. And then later on, you can decide to use it again. Or if you're fast enough, you can just say, well, I know I have to shoot these guys in the knees in order to get by them. And so that I thought was kind of neat. But I think it's mostly going to be about story. For me, it's going to be one of those games that I want to play at night when I'm a bit tired and there's nothing to watch on TV, but I want to get like 15 or 20 minutes through another part of the story. Because there is a lot of reading. Like there's a lot of like, okay, that was a fun little gunfight, but now I'm like spending 10 minutes talking to people, getting to know locals in the bar. And it's the kind of thing where like if you take your time with these kind of games, there's always fun little Easter eggs or catchphrases that are really funny or quirky characters. Like I met the graveyard keeper, and he's a hoot. Like he's really kind of out there in terms of like, burying the bodies and thinking that people are cannibals, and like he's really out to lunch. So it's pretty cool. And if you want to see the gameplay trailer, I'll have a link in the show notes. But what reminded me to go and look up Outer Worlds was the Outer Worlds 2 announcement trailer from E3 2021, just this year. And it is a really, really good trailer. It will definitely get you interested in the sense of humor of the game. I won't spoil anything, but just go watch the trailer. It's like a minute and a half long. And it's the announcer, pay attention to what the announcer is saying, and you will understand immediately the kind of like overly dramatic 1940s corporate kind of like vibe of this game. And so I don't know what corporation I'm going to start working for. I haven't like met everyone from all of them yet, but it looks like it's going to be a fun ride. My only complaint so far is that I had to, and this might be me just being old, I had to dial down the sensitivity on the joystick to like 25%, and the aim sensitivity I had to take all the way down to 0. It wasn't at all tuned to work very well. It could be just the fact that it's a port to the Xbox and it was designed to work on a PC where people have like a mouse where it's a lot more precise. And that was the other thing I was disappointed to learn as I played for a little bit, and I thought, oh cool, this is on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which means that it's available for me on PC as well because I have access to both platforms, but there's no cross saves.
Oh, what a drag.
So I'd have to start all over again, right? So if I get really into it and it's something that I want to share, I might decide to stream it, but I'm not sure. It's something that I'll have to just kind of decide. Because really what I should do is maybe stream the rest of Borderlands 3, because it does remind me of that game. And I feel like if Borderlands 3 or any of the Borderlands franchises are things that you've played and enjoyed, then watching or playing Outer Worlds, I think, would be something that you'd enjoy as well. So what's been on your small screen this past week?
A couple of shows that we've watched as a family in the last little while. We've watched the Troll Hunters Rise of the Titans movie a couple of weeks ago. And I guess we're also super excited that season 2 of Ted Lasso has started. It's become one of our new favorite shows.
Ted Lasso is on Apple TV?
Apple TV Plus, yeah. It's actually, I was going to say it later, but if this is one of those shows that I sort of, it may not be everyone's cup of tea, but I'm enjoying it so much. I would almost suggest maybe wait until season 2 is done and then go get the 1 week free trial of Apple TV Plus if you're not sure you want to pay for it or anything like that. And you can just binge it. It's, I forget, it's either 8 or 10 episodes a season, and the show, each episode is only a half hour long. So it's actually an easily bingeable show, and it is thoroughly enjoyable. Like it's possibly the most, not sure if heartwarming is the right word that I want to use. I've seen the word heartwarming used a bunch to describe the show, and I sort of see why. Like the show just has so much heart. Like I'm not sure. Do you know the premise of the show at all?
I don't know the premise, but it's been the subject of a lot of water cooler chatter in some of the podcasts that I listen to, where I also pay for the bonus content. Like when they're not doing their main show, they're just kind of like all hanging out and talking about what you watched on TV last night, sort of deal. And I've heard of Ted Lasso, and I've heard that it's a feel-good show, and I've heard that it's really good, and everyone seems to love it. Like it's just their new favorite thing. So I know it's got good quality. Apple TV Plus is one of those subscriptions I just haven't felt compelled to get just for the one show. So I'm in that boat. I'm in that I'll wait until season 2 is done, and then maybe I'll use that free week and see what it's all about. I know that there's other shows on Apple TV Plus that are also been flagged as good, but I also know that they sound like they're kind of intense as well, and I'm not sure if I'm in the mood for that. But Ted Lasso sounds like it's something that would be the opposite of an intense show.
It is, yeah. It's I feel kind of silly saying it's so good, but we, like my entire family, just 2 teenage boys, my wife and I, we are all jazzed when this thing comes on. So, the premise is Ted Lasso is an American football coach at a non-professional level who was hired to manage a Premier League, like say a world football team, a soccer team in England. So the coach of a different sport, a different professional category in a different country. So he's basically, he goes over to the UK with his deadpan coach, just call him Coach Beard. I don't even know if they gave him a first name in the show. They just keep calling him Coach Beard. Yeah, I should say Ted Lasso is played by Jason Sudeikis. He does a great job with Ted Lasso, and then Coach Beard is played by Brendan Hunt. They're both super jazzed to get started. However, the team owner, Rebecca Welton, played by Hannah Waddingham. Have you ever seen the TV show Sex Education? I
know of it. I might have seen a trailer, but I've never actually watched it.
Okay, yeah, it's another good show. It's you got to sort of be in the mood for it, but I was trying to figure out where I first saw her, and she plays the mother of the swimmer in that. So if anyone is wondering where you've seen her from, it could quite possibly be that show. And so Rebecca hired Ted because she essentially wants to ruin the soccer team, like the football team, and run it into the ground. And that's because her ex-husband, Rupert Mannion, who's played by Anthony Head. So if anyone's seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer, that's good old Giles from Buffy. He plays the ex-husband, and he is like, it's so tough to see him because I love him as Giles, but he's such a jerk in this. Like he plays the jerk so well. But so he lost the team. He loves the team, but he lost it in the divorce. And so Rebecca just wants to ruin it purely out of spite, just because she knows he loves it and just wants to kill the team. And then of course Ted, he's hired and he has no idea that he was hired to fail. And he's beyond upbeat and positive. to the detriment of his marriage, which is unfortunate, but I can almost see it though. He almost seems like caricature level positive.
Right.
And if you've got somebody that positive all the time in a relationship, it's almost like, oh my goodness, don't you ever just stop? And so either way, I won't get into that too much because if you're going to watch it, they do a really good job with it. I guess just to show how positive he is, Ted takes the word believe on a big piece of paper and tapes it above his office door, and all the soccer players see it, and everybody thinks it's like, this guy's nuts, it's completely hokey, and none of the soccer players are jazzed that he's here because they know he was the level of football that he coached, and he's never even been on a soccer pitch before, so everyone's wondering why the heck he was hired. But nobody except for Rebecca, and Rebecca's right-hand man, I forget his name, it's Higgins, played by Jeremy Swift. Him brimming with positivity is sort of a point of friction for the first little bit, but then everyone realizes, oh my goodness, he's sincere in his positivity, and he sort of slowly starts to win people over. I guess one of the reasons why I love it is I've never seen a show so focused on characters lifting up other characters. There's usually scandals and there's people trying to stab each other's backs, and there's a tiny bit of this in here, with Rebecca trying to ruin the team. But it's Ted Lasso is, that character is all about building people up, trying to make them their best selves to go out there on the field and be awesome soccer players. And there's so many good lines. The first one that caught me, I can't remember the exact line, and I should have gone back to check, but it's something like one of the characters, he's the kit boy or the kit man. I forget what his title actually is, but essentially the staff member who gets all of the soccer players' uniforms ready and the towels ready and basically everything prepped for the players before the game starts. And his name's Nathan, and he's played by Nick Mohammed, and he's an excellent character, but he had an idea for a play that the team could possibly use, but he's just sort of shy and sort of stammering. And Ted just gets in there and he goes, "I'm sorry there, Nate. Could you speak up, please? I have a hard time hearing people who don't believe in themselves." And I just thought, man, that was just it was
yeah.
It almost sounds like an over the top line, but it was just delivered with this just in the moment, just like a speak up. We want to hear what you have to say kind of thing. And it did the job. The guy who plays Nathan did a good job of feeling bolstered suddenly. I want to share my idea now. And there are a lot of lines in that where people are just building the other person up or lifting them up. It's crazy.
It sounds like Ted himself is like a walking Instagram quote, when you see those colorful images of people taking pictures of quotes about your day or the motivational stuff about this, that, and the other thing. I normally roll my eyes. I mean, I'm not going to slam it because if somebody gets something out of it, then all the power to you. That's great. But I usually find the kind of, sugary sweet motivational stuff a little bit too much for me, which is weird because I'm a positive person. I'm just not a words of affirmation person.
Yeah.
When it comes to dialogue and movies and things like that.
And I'm kind of the same way, but that's the thing. Maybe it's just the way that Jason Sudeikis can deliver the lines. They sound like those motivational word type things, but he just delivers them, and he's got a Southern accent, and so
right. Mm-hmm.
And just he's being super positive Southern accent, so he comes across as a little bit simple at first, and I know I use the word hokey at first, but it kind of seems like that caricature version. But he's delivering those lines, and some of them are funny, but he makes you feel like he means it. And so he doesn't do it slowly or anything like that to say, now let's take this moment for positive affirmation. He just he throws the line out there and it's oh, that's another good one. Oh, damn it, just these lines keep coming. In
the same way that a more risky comedy would be throwing in one-liners, we're just did they just really say that? And it sounds like it's the same sort of idea, but with this motivational positive spin on it. And I think one of the reasons, and this is, again, I haven't watched the show, but I have heard people talk about it. It sounds like Ted Lasso is just self-aware enough as a show that it knows that Ted is over the top, and because it knows that, then you end up accepting it. If it was pretending to be a serious drama and Ted Lasso was in it, he wouldn't work as a character. He'd be so unrealistic, right? You'd hate every second he was on the screen because it would be in such contrast to every other character. But no, it's so good. I mean, the team of players at first, they're
they're kind of your usual, what you'd expect from footballers. They curse like, I was going to say curse like sailors, but they curse like British footballers. And, the team is led by Captain Roy Kent, played by Brett Goldstein, he's angry all the time, has no time for any kind of nonsense, and he swears nonstop. He's an excellent character because he sort of used to be the top of his game and the top of every team he played on, but he's getting older, so his touch isn't quite there the way it used to be. And he's often pitted against the other alpha male, Jamie Tart, who played by Phil Dunster, he's the team top scorer, but he's an all-around bully. And he's getting away with it because he's so good and the team actually needs him. But it gets, so there's clashes that happen between the players. I mean, I don't want to get into the entire cast of the team, but I guess one of the main reasons why I mentioned Jamie is because his girlfriend, Keely, played by Juno Temple, she's actually she's a gem on that show. She comes across as like a bit ditzy and superficial at first, but man, she is just, again, so positive. She's just in there lifting up other people. And not in any kind of cheesy way. Her character comes across as super sincere. So it's like, yeah, I'm all there for Keely. She's an awesome character.
It's really cool when you can find something that's that positive that doesn't make you want to stick your finger down your throat. I feel like it's a delicate line to walk, and you don't get it a lot. A lot of times I get that stuff from like animated films, Pixar, Disney, like that kind of stuff, where you kind of know you're going to get kind of like a balance, but overall it's going to be a feel good experience. Where I find that it's such a hit or miss these days with Netflix original content, with Amazon Prime. Like every time I turn around, it's always like The Boys or like zombie apocalypse this or vampire on a plane that. I'm just like, okay, can we dial it back a little bit? Like hey, this is a great action movie. What's going on? The world is ending from an alien invasion again. Okay. This is like, when are we going to learn? So like, it's one of those things where it's a tougher sell, and it's a harder thing to write, because I think that it means that you have to ask more of your audience. You have to ask them to be open to more.
Yeah.
Where I think a lot of us could agree, given the internet these days, that being angry is easy, and then being positive or finding hope in situations is not easy. And any show that can do that earnestly has some serious writing at the helm.
Yeah, that's a good word, earnest. It's funny, to be honest, I almost didn't want to watch it because the articles and things I read about it, it's like, oh my goodness, you need to go watch Ted Lasso. Oh, it's so positive. It's so, and it almost felt like I mean, I'm thinking back to when The Matrix came out. It was almost like everyone's like, you got to see this. You got to see this. You don't want to miss this. You got to see it. And it was almost to the point where just you're all annoying me so much. I don't want to see it, but I made myself go see it. And am I ever glad I did? Likewise with this show, I almost didn't want to because it was just so, almost felt like someone was just hitting you over the mallet. Watch it, watch it, watch it. That I didn't want to, and then I just thought we'd give it a go. We watched the second episode right afterwards. It was so good.
It's nice when something that's that good is also that accessible. Like I find a lot of times too with the original content on streaming services, you often have to get through a number of episodes before it gets good. I remember when you and I were talking about, I think it was like the second season of Troll Hunters. It took like 3 or 4 episodes to even get going. And that was frustrating because like you really, it should have just kind of gone off with a bang, but they try to string it out sometimes. So that's cool that you get sucked right into Ted Lasso. Speaking of Troll Hunters, yes. I have actually started watching and don't know if I'm going to finish the Troll Hunters Rise of the Titans. Is that the title? I think that's the title.
Yes.
Because I couldn't get more than 15 minutes at a time before I was just like bored and walking away. And I have I work from home. I have all the time in the world. I'm on lunch break. I can take a 15-minute lunch break. I can take an hour and 15-minute lunch break. If I'm watching something I like, I will tend to finish it. And so I was watching the film and really just kind of felt like it was just a to-do list and didn't really, I found all the jokes were forced and repetitive, and it felt like the film hadn't learned anything from the number of seasons of the other shows, where, especially with Troll Hunters, which I think is probably still my favorite of the series in terms of
agreed
my experience with it. But after, I want to say either a half a season or maybe the full season, Troll Hunters found a groove, especially with the secondary characters like Toby and and other characters like
Steve Palchuk and
Palchuk
Eli.
and Eli. Yeah,
Pepperjack, yeah.
Pepperjack. And so like, and you get to know these kind of like lovable sidebar characters. And I remember specifically that I think there's an episode in season 2 where like they tell the same story in 2 different episodes from 2 different perspectives. And it was just really clever, really fun, but it had some really good original character jokes and stuff like that. And I just found that they were just beating a dead cat in this film. Every conversation that they had was the exact same conversation over and over again. And everybody's in the same room. So it made no sense. It's like Blinky and Arg and somebody are talking about Jim about they can't do this and they can't do that and they have to do this and they have to do that. And then they cut to another 2 characters that are 6 feet away and they have the exact same conversation and in different ways. And I just like, this is all just like, okay, I know this is the viewer, but like, why are we going over this over and over and over again? Like, I get it. Y'all have to team up to save the day. Like, can we just get on with it? And at one point you think like, hurry up. And then the other point you think, gee, slow down. Like everything that's coming out is just like and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. Yeah. And like, you think there's this giant moment, I guess, small spoiler, where there's a body swap. Like, so magically one of the characters switches with one of the other characters to try to save them from being kidnapped. And you think like, wow, okay, that might complicate things for the rest of this film. Like, this could be a huge plot point. Nope, they flip it back for 10 minutes later. Like, it's barely even worth writing in because they undo it as fast as they do it. Nothing seems to have permanence. Now, again, I'm not even through Act 1. I just lost patience with it. So as someone that's seen it through and is a fan of the whole franchise, like what did you think about it?
We enjoyed it as a family movie. It was good. You're right though. It's one of the big complaints about it is it feels rushed, and your description of it being like a checklist is pretty accurate. I mean, I haven't seen it written anywhere online or anywhere else, but it feels like all the shows got canceled, but we need to wrap up the story. There's a 2-hour, or not even 2-hour, but a movie to wrap up all 3 shows. It feels like this could have easily been one more season in terms of storytelling. Like, everything they wanted to get out in this feels like it could have been, like, even if it was a 6-episode show, that would have had much better pacing.
Right.
I'm happy to have seen it, partially because we've seen all 3 shows all the way through. So it's nice to have these characters you get to know over the 3 shows have a send-off, as opposed to other shows that Netflix just kind of goes, we're done, and then that's it. So, like, at least this one's been wrapped up. Was it the nicest bow put on it? No, but it was still good. I mean, it's one of those, like, I guess for anyone who's not seen the other shows before this, you do have to watch them before watching this movie, because it is almost like, again, that little bow put on all 3 of the other shows: Troll Hunters, 3 Below, and Wizards. This is the main characters from those 3 shows finishing off their storylines.
Yeah, there's no moment in the beginning of the movie where they stop to explain who anyone is. None.
No.
They called Jim the Troll Hunter enough times for you to realize that he's the Troll Hunter, or at least he used to be. But other than that, and maybe one of the characters saying another character's name, like Toby, or, there is the point in the first small, opening sequence where they get arrested and the officers are reading off the names, Claire and Nunez and whatever. Yeah. So you do get the names kind of said to you, because otherwise someone watching it is just like, they've not even said the characters' names. Like, I don't know who any of these people are. So they use that as a sequence to kind of like say the characters' names out loud in the show and let you know who they are. But like, Claire walks around in purple armor with a staff that opens up portals. And if this is the first time you've ever seen this, you're going to be like, I have so many questions. Like, you really need to see the other shows for this to make any kind of sense, especially if you're looking at, I don't remember his name. He's the prince from 3 Below. What's his name? Krell. If this is the first time that you're watching and you're looking at Krell, then you have even more questions as to what's going on.
I guess the basic synopsis or summary of this show is that in the Wizards TV show, we're introduced to 3 members of what's called the Arcane Order, which are like 3 original, not the original beings, but they each control a different element, and they are like of the oldest magics kind of thing. And so they're essentially like Skrael, Belrock, and Nari. They're able to call up Titans to wreak havoc and throw the world into danger. So the entire world is in danger. again, and they all have to work together to stop the bad guys. But it's it felt like the Arcane Order were sort of, I don't know. I feel like they could have had more of their backstory told. I feel like that would have been one of the things I would have liked to seen explored. Were we given like 6 episodes to finish this off or anything? I read one complaint online that sort of, just touched on it for me. I couldn't figure the exact words they wanted to use, but that was basically that you're not really given any time to feel anything during events that are significant and are supposed to have some sort of emotional impact, just because there are so many things they're trying to fit in. It's just like one thing after another, and it just keeps pushing forward. One thing I thought was interesting, the show doesn't really shy away from killing some previously semi-significant characters. Like, I'm not going to get into who if anyone wants to watch it, but there's a few of them that we were surprised at, and the fact that there were a few or more than a few surprised us as well. I guess going back to the checklist thing, I forgot about this, but like even at one point through the entire Trollhunter series, Jim, the main character, and his mom, it's just the two of them, and there's no mention of his dad. Like, it's just, he was never in the picture, so he was never mentioned, and it was the two of them together, and they were never lamenting over the backstory there, so it was just all about the two of them doing their thing and moving forward. But they even mention it at one point. So his mom brings up his dad, and he mentions something along the lines of, "But we never talked about him," and it was almost like, "Yeah, I know, but maybe we should." And then something else happened, so it just leaves it. So I'm like, why throw that in there? Why not give this multiple, as I've said, multiple episodes where you could explore this stuff, as opposed to being these little tiny things you drop in there that you can't actually build on. It was enjoyable, but it had moments of frustrations in it.
With any of the characters that don't make it, do you feel like it was a disservice to the fans? Like, was it a heroic end, or was it, because I find something that I don't like about things that are wrapped up haphazardly or approached without the understanding of the previous content. When they do write out a character, oftentimes it's unnecessary, and they just do it because they want to add some sort of emotional weight into a script that otherwise is lacking it. And it just seems like a lazy way to do it. And people call it, people call creators on it all the time. Like, when it happens, it's just like, no, this was the one good thing you had going in the show, and you're just grasping at straws. It's not like you have a reason to make the audience feel. You just want to try to check the box. And it's a really hard thing, I find, as a fan. And especially when you've been a fan for a while. Like, this is there's 3 seasons of Trollhunters, 2 seasons of Three Below, and 2 seasons or 1 season of Wizards.
1 or 2 Wizards. I can't remember offhand.
It's enough. It's a good 5 seasons of content. So if you've been watching it and not like binging it all in just 1 week, like, you've got a number of hours that you've kind of paced yourself into this world. And it's fun for the most part. I know that I've definitely had some complaints about the various series on this show, and I certainly like the later series less than I like the earlier series or seasons of anything. But they're not terrible. Like, it's not like it was crap or anything like that. I still watch them. I still enjoyed them. I do remember skipping a couple of episodes or fast forwarding through stuff, which it's very odd. I still have a hard time remembering with streaming content that if you realize, oh, this is a filler episode, you can just start skipping ahead by 3 and 5 minutes and just see if they're past that storyline. That makes no difference, no consequence whatsoever. Like, insert, it's the episode about the pet or the robot or the side character, and you can just skip it or skip ahead or go read the synopsis online and go like, okay, I know what I need to know. In the last few minutes, they have a confrontation with the big bad guy. Cool. I'll fast forward and I'll watch that. And then I'll just be on to the next episode where there really is some stakes. And like, I find that I forget with streaming content that I don't have to sit there for 20 minutes and wait for them to wrap stuff up. I've been doing it more with YouTube content lately. I find that some of the stuff I've been watching on YouTube is not always my cup of tea, yet I still want to know what's going on. And so I'll just watch the beginning and the mid/end of an episode of something. And then the part in the middle that just does not interest me, I'll just be like, nope, I'm just going to skip this. And they're short enough videos and they have enough visual tone change that you can say, okay, they're no longer doing that segment. I can just watch something else now.
Right.
You forget that, like, I mean, YouTube I'm not even paying for, but with the content I'm paying for, it's like, why am I sitting through this if I'm not enjoying it? And I know that there's other things on the other side of it that I can get to.
And sometimes it's my time is more valuable than this. Skip.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like I'm going to get back to finish the Titans. It looked pretty good. I thought the animation was pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, the voice, the lip sync and stuff was always off. But I find that any CG television show, the lip sync is just never going to be as good as a film. And that's just time constraints. And I wonder, actually, I know that Netflix obviously has a bad habit of just canceling stuff when it doesn't perform to the peak of their expectations in terms of not reviews, but like subscription increases.
Right.
I wonder, though, because of COVID, if the production of what would have been a full season, like another season of Wizards, ended up being just a 90-minute film because they just like, we just don't have the capacity and or time or resources or, you know, whatever to do this in a timely manner. I definitely feel like last week talking about Revelations, I feel like it was rushed, and I don't know why, because you have a captive audience in a lot of the world, literally. Like there's no reason to push it out the door fast. But anyway, on to the Internet Minute, which is, of course, brought to you by you. The Citadel Cafe is 100% listener supported. If you're getting value out of the show, please consider putting a little bit of value back in. You can become a member at patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe. Joining at any level will get you an invite to the member-only Discord server, which is shared with my Twitch channel as well as my personal Patreon. So there's lots of folks in there. And there are multiple levels to choose from with rewards like Discord roles and bonus episodes of audio, which is going to tie into my pick, actually. Patron count is at 24, steady on from last week. Our goal is to reach one more patron than we had the month before. It's a brand new month, and if you'd like to be patron number 25, visit patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe and join today. My pick is about Alistair McFly, who you heard on the show a couple of weeks ago. Currently, right now, as we're recording this, Alistair is doing his first Let's Chat live stream on Twitch, and it is a one-up Let's Chat live stream where he is playing and talking about his home arcade setup. Among other things, I'm sure the conversation is going all over the place, but he's playing in the arcade and streaming from the arcade and having a Let's Chat with his community on Twitch. So it will be over by the time that you get this podcast, but I'll have a link to the VOD that you can go and watch on Twitch after the fact. You can go and follow Alistair, see what he's up to on Twitch when he does stream. And I'm sure it'll be a good time. And I'm really curious because if you're a patron already, you've heard the extra bonus audio that we had talking about his arcade at home. And I'm sure that's probably something of interest to you as well. What is your pick this week, sir?
My pick this week is actually a Lego flower bouquet. This is something that my wife actually showed me earlier, just because she follows a lot of artists on YouTube. And one of them, this artist had been looking for this Lego set forever, but it just seems to be sold out everywhere. So she finally got it, and this basically did a YouTube video including putting this entire flower bouquet together. And it's for anyone who's played with Lego as a kid. You can look at all of these pieces and say, yeah, I can see where that would have been used in this or that. Like, it has dragon wings for the leaves, it has jet wings for some of the larger petals, and it's got some little discs that would have been used in some like little droid type characters in the Star Wars movies, like not the original trilogy, but the first episodes 1, 2, and 3. There was these droids that would roll out and then just sort of set themselves up and shoot. You can see some pieces from those, and so it's amazing that they were able to like ingeniously reuse pieces from other sets to create this. You know, at a super quick glance, it looks like a flower bouquet, and then when you do the double take and you go, holy smokes, that's a pile of Lego there. So it was pretty impressed. I thought it was pretty cool.
I have seen these around online, and I agree with you in terms of the ingenuity that Lego designers have for these new creator sets. There's a bonsai tree as well. There's a flower bouquet. There's a couple of other ones as well, and they're really unique looking. The birds is another one, like little hummingbirds and stuff like that. I think are really, really fun takes on Lego, and it's nice to see companies that have been around as long as Lego take what is, I would consider, a risk, in terms of a design.
Yeah.
Like, it's not another vehicle, it's not another house, like they're really doing something different. And I know that a lot of this kind of stuff I don't know if this particular set did, but sometimes they start as like Lego ideas sets, and then they end up moving on into main Lego builds. And what the building community can do with Lego blows my mind. Like, it is the vast knowledge that you have to have of existing pieces and be able to get your hands on them, you know, to create your own, you know, designs and stuff. It's a real creative flex to me. Like,
It's a good way to put
like,
it.
I can draw and I can sculpt and I can 3D model and I can do all that kind of stuff. But then, like, to do this kind of stuff with Lego and know, like, I want to build a flower, what pieces would represent flower petals, and just know what kind of library of pieces you have to go to. It takes like an expert knowledge. Like, you really have to be steeped in Lego culture and knowledge to get this far. And it's a beautiful set. Really cool. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Citadel Cafe. You can get more information about the show and links to some of the things that Steven and I talked about at thecitadelcafe.com. Music for the show was composed by Kevin MacLeod, and you can email us at thecitadelcafe@gmail.com or find the show by name on Twitter. Subscribe for free on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify, and YouTube. And we're also on Reason FM right now, giving that a test. So if that's where you like to hang your podcast hat, we're just about everywhere. Word of mouth is the easiest way to support the show. Just tell a friend about the Citadel Cafe and where they can go to listen to it. My name is Joel Duggan. You can find everything I'm doing online, including my illustration and design portfolio at joelduggan.com. You can check out my other podcasts all about Minecraft at thespawnchunks.com. And I'm going to take a moment here to say how proud I am of episode 152, which is the most recent episode of the Spawn Chunks, where Johnny and I interviewed Henrik Nieberg from Mojang. He is a game design developer on Minecraft and is working very hard on the new terrain generation that's coming to Minecraft later this year. And he was a fantastic guest. He's super knowledgeable. He's an important part of the team and was speaking to the team effort behind the big changes, community feedback, and how Mojang works with the community, and how fun surprises come out of community feedback. But he also got very technical about how they're achieving what they're achieving in Minecraft right now from a design perspective. It's a really, really good interview. If you don't mind me tooting my own horn, but yeah, check it out at thespawnchunks.com. And of course, today I will point you towards twitch.tv/JoelDuggan, where I'm streaming from the Citadel and wrapping up the zombie geode farm, hopefully in the next stream, and then moving on to something else. I don't know what. It's going to be a surprise. Steven, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitch as well at twitch.tv/StevenESC. And again, that's Steven with a PH.
You've been listening to the Citadel Cafe, where we are fast, easy, and cheap, but you can only pick two. Just then?
Yeah. What was that?
That was a motorbike and a dickhead going up the street.
You should keep that in.